Hello and welcome to the Auto Riff. Another tailgate chat here with Matt. How's it going, Matt?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. Always
Great.
glad to be back on here.
So today's topic I have withheld from you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead right out and say it. We're gonna do. So this is the Consumer Reports ranking of most reliable and least reliable auto automakers and models of
Oh.
cars. Yeah,
Oh. I'm so excited. Okay.
yeah.
I
This is
love this
actually
shit.
really good. Uh,
Yeah.
so we're gonna start with the actual manufacturers.
Okay.
So if you had to guess, because I would not have guessed number one had I not seen this list, and this is the 2020 list or 2021 list. Sorry,
Okay.
what would you guess is the number one most reliable manufacturer?
My first instinct is to say Toyota, but I
No,
feel like Hyundai is going to come from the left field.
no,
Oh, who
you
is
got
it?
it's Mazda.
What?
Yeah, so I don't know how they grade out the numbers. So Mazda has an average reliability score of 83. And Toyota is second with 74. I don't know what those scores come from. I don't know if it's like 83% reliable. I don't know. But there was in the article an interesting, and it was a USA Today article citing Consumer
Okay.
Reports that Mazda has not yet gotten on board really with touchscreen infotainment, and that
Good.
most vehicles, their problems have been the infotainment. So it not having it helps it score because it doesn't go in for something it doesn't have.
I booted my Civic because I just didn't want to deal with the Touch Link, the Honda Link or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It looked really cool. It looked neat, and I didn't even mind driving the car. It was my commuter car. It was a 2015. I had it in 2017, so it was only 2 years old, and it was inconsistent, slow. Some days it worked great, other days it worked terribly. It was frustrating, cumbersome, and it's supposed to be user friendly, but I got to the point where I just wouldn't touch it because I found it distracting. You
See,
know,
my the Kia Soul I had last had a touchscreen and it worked really well, and it's still, as far as I still see that vehicle every day. As far as I know, it still works very well. And my Ram has the Uconnect, and it's amazing, uh, how great it is.
our current Escape just has the basic Bluetooth
Yeah.
and pairing. That works fine when I use it. My previous Escape, the 2016, that one I bought brand new, and it had the touchscreen. And once I got used to it, because sometimes if you it would pair with your phone, and the GPSs would compete, to
Okay.
which one's gonna have me drive off the bridge and which one's gonna have me drive off the mountain.
Yeah.
Um, Once I figured out how to settle that battle, the touchscreen worked amazing. But I could totally see where touchscreens could be a problem, or the infotainment.
Yeah.
I could see like David used to have a Patriot, and it his Bluetooth and all that started 9 months into it failed. I remember my manager at State Farm 9 months after buying her brand new Grand Cherokee. It was like 2015, 2016. Within the year, all failed and had to be replaced. Now, once replaced, worked great, but the initial one went down. I mean, and I can think of other friends having problems with theirs. Now that you say that,
I think,
that's
yeah,
really
it's
frustrating.
it's natural, I think, for a touchscreen to probably have issues at some point.
Well, I think we're still pretty new. I mean, I know they have been in cars for 5, 10 years, but in the world of cars, 5+ years is not really that long for a technology to settle in and just
Right. Well,
be.
and the thing is the screens keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're doing more and more things, right? Like the
Yeah,
Teslas have essentially a TV screen turned sideways inside in the center console, and the new Rams are the same way. And well, even the Ford Lightning uh, previewed had a huge screen in the middle as well.
that's it's so weird to see it because as a passenger, that's like being chauffeured around
Right.
in style and comfort. For the driver, it's like, wow, everybody else gets these cool features. Great. Though, I mean, I guess you have small kids, so I can imagine something that entertains your littler passengers is probably a relief.
Yeah. Well, that's the Nintendo Switch is for that on our long drives. So second is Toyota, which we talked about. Third is Lexus, which makes sense because Lexus
Yeah.
is Toyota. Fourth is a huge surprise to me. And so, if you remember on the last episode we did, you hated this manufacturer. It's Buick. Buick
I was
is
like, well,
fourth with a
ugh.
score of 70. And then in fifth is Honda, which makes sense. Honda's generally known to be quite reliable. And in sixth
Always started.
is. Huh?
Cars always started. It
Yep,
never left anywhere.
exactly. In sixth is Hyundai.
Wow.
Yeah, with a 62.
They've really improved their game in the last 10 years.
They
I
have.
mean,
Yeah. Oh,
they
for
went
sure.
from the joke. We bought a 2011 Hyundai at one point, brand new, and another guy when we were looking at a different car. We were car shopping a little, and ours came. Had that 10-year 100,000,
Yeah.
and the manufacturer, I think it might have been Toyota or Honda, and the guy was kind of being a jerk about it. He was like, "Well, ours doesn't need it," and I'm like, "I'd rather have it and not need it, sir." Like,
Right.
you're trying to charge me way more for this Corolla. That I actually did want the Corolla more, but my ex-husband didn't want the Corolla. Like, I was like, can we just please get the used Corolla that has that's way less? But I couldn't really argue with the 10-year 100,000 for a few thousand more than the used Corolla. When the brand new Corolla would have been like way at the time way more than this Hyundai. So I mean, and I don't think we ever had to use the warranty. God, I ran the crap out of that car. Did great. I was not expecting. I honestly, because in 2010, I was still remembering 2010, 2011. I was still remembering like the high school days of Hyundai's and Kia being the almost the joke. Like, oh yeah, you can get one for a couple thousand, and it's pretty new. But
Yeah. Well,
what's gonna?
remember Daewoo's. And if you remember the
Oh
commercial
yeah.
in our area, the woo, it's a Daewoo. Uh, they were like
No,
they were like buy one get one free for a while.
Kia.
Because my dad always wanted to get a Daewoo or get the buy one get one free. He's like, well, while one's broken, you're driving the other one. Then when that one breaks, you could drive the other one.
Well, and Kia did that for a while. You could buy a Sportage, like an SUV, and they would give you a base model Sophia.
Yeah,
Granted, the Sophia was like the lowest end. It was like even at brand new, it was like 8 to 10,000. And again, to a manufacturer, that ain't shit. But um, for a family needing to replace a car and maybe has a young driver, giving them a base model car, I mean, they ain't gonna care.
yeah,
It's new, like, and cheap to insure.
yeah. No, absolutely. In seventh, so this is 26 manufacturers. I will say that. In seventh is Ram. So
I am lay shocked.
yeah, I'm in seventh. In eighth is Subaru, which Subarus I've always thought of as being very reliable vehicles. Do you have a different opinion of that?
No, I don't. I just don't like most Subarus aesthetically.
No, they are different looking a lot of times. There are like the Crosstrek is I think
I
a
do
good
like
looking
the
little
Crosstrek.
SUV.
I do like the WRX.
Yeah, the WRX obviously. Yeah, like the WRX can look terrible, but you know it's an amazing car type thing. You know what
I
I mean?
literally couldn't take the STI seriously
No, you
because,
can't because of the name.
yeah, I mean, that just had to be. I remember them being marketed, and it was in the same couple years that the marketing campaign, or not. Well, I guess it was more of like the campaign about STDs being renamed STIs, and I was like, this is really unfortunate for Subaru.
It is. It was.
It just really unfortunate.
Uh, in ninth is Porsche or Porsche, depending on how you pronounce it. In tenth is Dodge, which I would not have guessed that Dodge would be that high. Uh, in 11th is Infinity. And 12th is BMW. I would have thought BMW would have been higher.
Oh yeah, well, there are things that can go really wrong with your BMW, like really wrong. I had a maintenance plan. I
Yeah,
would not have bought a car without a maintenance plan.
no, that's fair. And 13th is Nissan. So I've gotten through both manufacturers of what I have, and we still haven't gotten to yours, sir. I just want to say that.
Mine,
You own an Escape. You have a
yeah,
Ford.
yeah.
Okay. We're not at Ford yet, and I've gotten through my Ram, and I've gotten through my Nissan Rogue.
Let's see. Well, I've had Toyotas, I've had Fords, I've had
But
Volkswagen,
you don't now.
BMW, and let's see. I've had Hyundai, I've had Honda, I had a
Mitsubishi.
Chevrolet.
Yeah, Mitsubishi.
Yeah. Oh God, Mitsubishi. Oh, I had to explain to David. Poor David. He patiently puts up with it, and I try not to talk about cars too much with him. But I explained to him, the DSM,
Yeah,
Diamond Star
Diamond Star
Motors,
Motors. Yep.
and but then he said something that I just knew why I married him. He goes, "I've never liked eclipses," and I was like, one, he knew what an eclipse was, and I was like, okay, and then two, I was like, oh, I don't like, yay, your
My
instincts were right.
my grandma had every single Eclipse, every single generation of Eclipse from the first one till we're gonna say truly the last one because they have the Eclipse Cross now, which is not. It's just an SUV.
Not the eclipse.
Yeah,
I think what was it, like the 2012s, like that
yeah.
generation of the
The
eclipse.
kind of
I
bubbly
thought
looking one. Yeah,
it was horrible, to be honest.
yeah.
Like, I don't know if I would have fit comfortably in it. But remembering that David is 6'3", anything sports car or sporty tends to be lower to the ground and kind of uncomfortable.
Well, I drove because my grandma had that last generation one, the kind of more bubbly looking one. My grandma had the first one in Southwest Florida,
That's
and
impressive.
yeah, and I drove it once, and I don't remember it being overly uncomfortable for because I'm 6'2", so I don't
Pretty
remember it
tall.
being terrible for that. It was
That's pretty
terrible
safe.
for outward visibility. Like you couldn't see out of the back at all. I mean, there was zero there, but it was a fun little car though.
I can see. I mean, it looked fun to me, but even just having the Beamer, once we got David in the car, there was lots of headroom and legroom for him. But getting in and out of the car was kind of like heaving yourself up and out.
Right.
So here we have an escape.
Yeah. And,
And
and
when I found out we were moving to Texas, when I got the job, I was like, well, do I buy a truck now or later?
well, I think the question becomes how quickly do you put truck nuts on it?
Oh Christ, you just really. I did not expect you to say that. I'm really trying to control myself right now.
So in 14th is Audi, and then in 15th is Kia, which surprised me that Kia was that much further down the list than Hyundai, because I mean they're essentially the same thing.
I always kind of think of them as. I know
Yeah.
they are different, but if I think of Hyundai, I'm like, oh, where's Kia?
Right. And so in 16th and 17th, you would expect these two to be together is GMC and Chevrolet.
Yeah.
They're 1 point apart. In 18th, though, quite the surprise. Because if you remember in high school, we said on the bus numerous times, if there's one car that's going to live through the apocalypse, it's
Oh, Volvo.
Volvo's. Yes, Volvo is in 18th and was
I
tied.
remember. By the way, that was like 18 years ago that I remembered
Yeah,
that.
and I've always remembered that saying that cockroaches and Volvos will live through the apocalypse. So in 19th is Jeep, which had the same score as Volvo with a
That's
41. Yeah, no, not as surprising. It was surprising in that Jeep is obviously the same manufacturer as Dodge and Ram, and that they're significantly
what
higher
was
on the
the
list.
actual numerical score of Jeep?
Jeep was a 41, Dodge is
Oh,
a
wow.
54, and Ram is a 58.
Jeez.
Yeah, so
Ouch.
like that is kind of surprising in that there's that much spread from
I
Jeep to
didn't. I
those.
mean, I was kind of. That's a lot. Okay.
But if I
Well, we got
had to guess, though, people are probably rougher on their Jeeps, which would cause more problems.
right. Yeah, you shouldn't be taking your Compass out off road.
No, you shouldn't. Uh,
I,
and in 20th is quite the surprise to me. Mercedes Benz.
oh, yeah. I guess it is
Yeah, I
surprising.
would have surprised. So, and then from here, it gets pretty. Okay, no, 24th place is pretty surprising. But so in 21st is Cadillac. Yeah. And then 22nd is Ford with a score of 38.
Ouch.
Yeah. 23 is Mini, which is
I'm not
kind.
surprised.
I'm kind of surprised because BMW makes it.
Well, so the reason I'm not surprised is because minis require very specific maintenance So,
Okay.
and only I believe the dealerships can do it. So it's like every 1,000 or 5,000 miles, a specific things have to be done to it. And if I remember, it's a little costly. A friend of mine had one and was explaining it to me. So I imagine if you're the average driver not doing that $1,000 maintenance every couple thousand miles, you might not be doing so well with it.
Right.
You might
No,
and
that's fair.
I think we all know the penalties of if your car says to do this, you should do it. You know.
So when one good thing, so I had a Kia Forte. It was brand. I bought it brand new in 2015. The one thing that saved me on that car was that I got every oil change and every maintenance done at the dealership. The reason I got every oil change done at the dealership was because I negotiated 5 years of oil changes into it when I got it. But what happened is when the motor let go in that car, they had all the records that I had come in exactly on time for my oil changes and I'd done all the other little stupid maintenance things. And
How long did you have it before it
two
when
years. It was under it. So, in all fairness to that car, there ended up being a recall on that
oh,
car.
okay.
When the engine blocks were being made, they didn't blow out the metal shavings properly. So it was getting picked up in the oil, and yeah, bad things
So
happen.
basically locked up your engine.
Yeah, yeah. So in 24th
Um,
is Volkswagen, which I was kind of pretty surprised. Volkswagen's usually, I think, of being very reliable cars.
well, so my VWs always started, but they
Okay.
are very finicky. It's they again maintenance do the maintenance like in my so I had to know one Jetta for years and years and years. Um, the driver's side window popped off the track. The just
Mm-hmm.
weird. I called it Jinxie.
Yeah,
Like nickname was Jinxie the Jetta like, for a reason.
that's fair. Like
um,
my parents had a Jetta that it was a diesel Jetta that they had. They drove that thing 100,000+ miles before the big. If you remember the Volkswagen Dieselgate, that
oh
they
yeah,
bought them all back, and they ended up selling it back and took the money and bought an Equinox. But my brother also had a Passat that he had for a while, also a diesel.
cannot picture him driving a VW.
He got it purely because he was still living with my parents and driving to work in Fort Myers from Arcadia. So for
Oh
those
God, that is a
listening and don't
beat.
know, it's like an hour or so to
When
work.
we're doing this, I kind of forget sometimes that other people will be listening, and
Yeah.
that may not, they don't, because you and I don't live anywhere. Anyone listening, we are literally almost as far apart as you could possibly be, being on the same continent.
Yes.
You know, and I still think about like when we make references to home, which is South Florida, like, oh man, that's like a long drive. Like, but we're like 40 hours apart if you were to drive
Right.
it.
And
Well,
like
actually,
I
more.
remember, I was listening to your one podcast today, like I told you before this, and you made a reference to us growing up, or you growing up in the city of Palms, and I was like, oh yeah, I know. Then you said McGregor Boulevard, and I was like, yeah, I know where all that is.
Yeah, like somebody, like I think my co-anchor was talking about, oh, palm trees this and there's not that and they're not useful. And I'm like, but coming from the city of palms where there's like kiosks for palms everywhere,
Yeah.
you can eat them, you can do this, you can do that, and yeah, you can even almost nearly kill yourself if one falls over on the road.
Yes. And they will.
Scare the hell out of
Uh,
yourself.
in 25th is Tesla, which was not really a surprise to me,
You
uh,
think still
because
on the
it.
scene?
Well, I think yeah, because it's a newer manufacturer. They're obviously trying to figure crap out.
So, I can't remember if it was Tesla or maybe it was another self-driving car, but it was when there's a video of it. You'll have to YouTube it or do it after we do this because I'm never gonna be able to stop laughing. But they were doing a demo of like if somebody walks out in front of it, the car will stop, and the car didn't stop. And being the awful person I am, the moment you said reliability, and I'm like, yeah, or homicide,
Yeah.
whichever.
Uh, how many bodies did it hit? And then in 26th, and we're talking. Okay, so Tesla had a score of 29, which not great. But at this manufacturer in 26th had a score of 8. Okay, so a distant last. Any guesses? If all the manufacturer you've heard, what would be in a distant last?
Are these all manufacturers that are still being made today?
Yeah.
Like these are
Oh yeah,
current.
and they're current manufacturers.
Uh,
They're not like Lamborghini or Ferrari. Dude, we're talking just the major manufacturers of where you see on the road.
shit. Okay, give me a second. One of my guesses would have been Mini or Ferrari, but Ferrari's not on the. We're not
Yeah, no, we're
uh,
talking like mainstream, somewhat regular people can afford it.
somewhat regular. um,
You want a hint?
Stay Ford?
I said Ford. Yeah.
Oh man, I think I need a hint.
Ford was 22nd. It's a luxury ish brand. I believe your grandfather had one of these.
Lincoln.
Yes.
I wish my grandfather was alive for this podcast and be so thankful that he would only be able to hear it and not like call in because, sir, if I had to hear about that damn town car, the Sunset Edition of his 93 Lincoln Town Car in powder blue, I'm like, this car color is gayer than I am, and I'm catching hell. Are you kidding me? I hate this car. And I learned to drive in that damn car. And I hope anybody listening is really enjoying this moment I'm having
Yes.
here.
Yeah. Lincoln is a distant last as far as the scores. Again, I don't know what the scores mean. It's
Well, it
like
seems like 8 out of 100 is bad.
yes, but I don't know if that means 92 out of 100 cars have a problem or what. So the next two lists, the next one is the top 10 most reliable cars of 2021. Again, this is still according to Consumer Reports.
Okay.
Number one for me was uh, like a surprise but not surprise is the Toyota Prius, most reliable. Not
So
because so
after
like Toyota, yes, you would get okay, yeah, Toyota's the most reliable. But then the Prius to me would be like, well, it's a hybrid and there's a lot that can go wrong. But I guess
but they've been around since '05, so they've had some time
oh,
to
they've been
kind of
around
get
since
together.
'01
Wow. Really?
in the states or '99 in the states. Yeah.
Oh man, corrected. I have to take a correction there. I really didn't see them. Oh wow.
No,
All
well, if
right.
you remember, the
I think
first generation Prius looked a lot like an Echo. They like almost if you didn't see the badge on the back being different, they were uh almost identical to each other.
so. After we did the last podcast, you ever we talked about like your ugliest, the
Yeah.
ugliest makes according to Quintometry.
Yeah.
Uh, we went to Taco Bell, and right in front of us was a Prius,
The new one.
and like that, like the blue in that blue, like in the same picture you posted. I was like,
Yeah.
this is unreal.
Yeah.
This thing hurt me.
It's hideous, right?
It was kind of hideous. Yeah. Go ahead.
Number two is the Lexus NX,
Is
which
that the SUV?
it's an SUV. Yeah.
Okay.
Number three was surprising to me, a Buick Encore. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then number four is the Lexus GX, which I believe is another SUV. Number five is the Honda HRV, which is a little SUV. A lot of SUVs. Um, Number six is the Toyota Prius Prime, which is I believe, the minivan looking one. Yeah, I think it's the minivan looking one. Number
My
s-
senses have been assaulted.
yeah, the number seven one is the Hyundai Kona, which is the little funky looking SUV from Hyundai. Number eight is the Audi A5, which I don't remember seeing Audi in
Um,
the list of 26. It wasn't. So I don't know where it would have. Well, maybe there's not enough Audi sold. And number
I
nine is
think
the Audi A4.
A. Hold on, I need to look at the A5 and make sure I'm.
I believe it's a little. It's a car. It's a.
Oh, no, it's the bigger car. The four is the um
In my head, it's a wagon or
no,
hatchback. No.
the five is not a wagon.
Okay.
Uh, the four, I actually really like the four. It's a lot of car though. I don't know if I would ever comfortably drive it. Let's see here. I'm pulling up the A5 right now to. It's it looks big.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks pretty big, but it does come in coupe. And I mean, it's sleek. It obviously has that um very noticeable Audi styling, that kind of grandiose appearance in the front.
Yeah. So the number 10th one is Mazda CX-5, which so for Mazda to have the 10th most reliable car, which is obviously good for them, or SUV in this case, but to be number one on the list would tell me that their models must all be very close together after that, and maybe Toyota is a little more spread out in their reliability rankings.
My old roommate is obsessed with his CX-5. He loves that thing. I think it's the car he's had the absolute longest. Um, Never has any problems with it. He loves it, and he is notorious for beating the crap out of his car, like just driving the crap out of his cars.
Yeah.
He, if it's got a limit, he's testing it. He's just one of those people. Um, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere in your car with you anymore. Yeah.
So here are
So
top 10 most unreliable cars. So the ones you would not want to go push to the limit. And I'm looking at the list. Obviously, you're not. A lot of these to me, not all of them, but a lot of them are surprising. Now, I don't know if this goes in reverse order, where number one is actually like the 10th most least reliable,
hmm.
or
So maybe this is like top 10 in no particular order.
something. I don't, because they didn't put scores on them, so I don't know
Gotcha.
if it's number one is like actually the like you know what I mean. So number one, the Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra 1500. I would not have guessed that.
Call my stepdad and let him know that.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that. Number two, I wouldn't have guessed that primarily because trucks tend to be built more rugged. Now, you could take this as Chevrolet GMC owners beat on their vehicles more,
Totally possible.
maybe. So, and number two is the Subaru Ascent, which is the SUV, kind of surprising. Number three is the Volkswagen Atlas, which is their new big SUV.
Seen that.
Yeah. Number four is the Jeep Compass, which I expected to be on this list, honestly.
Yeah.
Uh, Number five, surprising, the Volvo XC90.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
That is
that
surprising.
is surprising. The Volvo would be on the least reliable. I mean, again, though, their manufacturer score was only it was 18th. So
Of course, they maybe have fallen. Maybe we could do like a, 1990, 2000, 2010 kind of thing for like the top 10 of the reliable, unreliable to see if
yeah.
they've like shifted or.
Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah, maybe next one.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Uh, Sixth is the Chevrolet Colorado and GMC Canyon.
Oh, I used to love the Canyon.
Yeah, I like the new ones too. Like I was looking at them when I bought my Ram. They were just more expensive than my Ram for being smaller. It was ridiculous. Um, Number seven, not surprising, the Tesla Model S.
Yeah, not surprising at all. I wonder, I'm curious what it's going to be in 5 years.
Yeah,
Like what in the, I would like to see. I mean, we have to accept Tesla's in the market. They're going to be in the market. So.
right. Number eight, hugely, hugely surprising to me, is the Jeep Wrangler.
Is unreliable.
Yeah,
I wonder. I wonder why. Like, is it an engine thing or like was there a
it doesn't say.
that-
But to me, like again, I don't know if we could go on the basis of it gets beat on more,
right?
but Jeep Wranglers tend to be built very simply.
Right. So what's breaking?
Right,
You
like
know,
they're solid axle front end. I mean, you could take the doors off. I mean, you're not gonna break a
but
door.
could this also be like the infotainment part? Like, is it the technology
Yeah,
breaking?
and the thing
You know,
is that if they are being beat on, they are being in trails and stuff like that, and you have the infotainment package on it, that's more likely to shake
yeah,
and die.
those are not meant to be,
Right. If
tossed.
I was gonna get a Wrangler, I would get bare bones, I think, probably.
Yeah, you want the minimum.
Yeah. And as we've
Get
already
the
discussed, the two door, not the four door.
best-
Uh, ninth,
at least weekly in this house. Weekly, I tell you.
uh, in ninth, not surprising to me, the Ford EcoSport,
Is that little?
the itty
Oh,
bitty SUV. Yeah.
yeah, it's the escape without the trunk
Yes.
area.
Yes. We've mentioned. I don't remember what episode we mentioned it, but yeah, we mentioned it before.
We almost bought one. They tried to sell it when we took our original escape back. They were like, "Well, we can give you this is what we have," and it was the same year as our escape, it's 2019, but it had way more options. It was like $8,000 more. I'm like, well, I don't want to pay $8,000 more and not have a trunk space.
Right.
Like, like at the time we had our dog and she was 60 pounds. Like, I need space in there.
Right. And number 10, very surprising to me, Volvo XC60.
Which one is that? Is that the car?
No, it's an SUV as well.
Is that a small? Is it a
Small,
small
yeah,
one?
smaller SUV.
Let's take a
So that
the,
is the 10
uh,
most unreliable
this.
cars.
The nice thing about doing this is when you reference one that maybe I haven't heard of, or I'm not sure. Oh, it's not as small as I thought.
No, I don't. It's not super small.
It looks,
Again, though, it doesn't. It didn't give me reasons, and
yeah, that does make it harder.
yeah. Because I'm just reading the article. I do have it up. The Consumer Reports rankings reflect the magazine's predictions of 2021 model year reliability based on an assessment of recent vehicle performance data reported by more than 300,000 car owners. The fewer problems reported in the last 12 months for vehicles from the last three model years, the better the score.
Oh wow, so that could be
So
anything.
okay, so uh, the group also rated the top 10 most reliable cars of 2021, ranking the Toyota Prius at the top and the 10 least reliable, with the Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra pickups earning the dubious honors of least reliable. So when we looked at that, it was number one was least reliable.
Okay. Ouch.
Yeah,
Oh, bummer. Wow, that was fun.
that was.
That was fun. I didn't know what you were gonna do. You're like, hey, I'm gonna surprise you. I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do it. By the way, Clint does not like surprises. I just
I
want to point that out.
no. So Silverado and Sierra owners reported transmission issues.
Oh shit, that's kind of serious.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Tesla owners continue to report problems with the assembly of their vehicles, including fit and finish defects. One owner found what they thought was a human hair stuck in the paint. It doesn't say anything about Lexus, so or not Lexus, sorry, Lincoln. I'd have to like if
That's
that's the
really.
problem with Tesla and Lincoln scored an 8. What the crap is happening there?
I mean, they find a whole finger or something.
Yeah. Lincoln's come equipped with a dead body already in the trunk.
That's why they're in every mafia movie.
Right. Even Matthew McConaughey can't pull Lincoln out of the gutter, apparently.
Oh, was he their spokesperson?
Yes, because he did the Lincoln lawyer, and then apparently that means for Lincoln it meant, hey, just keep going.
So when does the Lincoln All Right, All Right, All Right come out?
Oh, that would be good.
I'm funny. I'm
Yeah.
funny. Thank you.
Jokes, Matt, jokes.
Yes, I'll be here all week. If your server.
Yeah. Well, that was fun. So
And
that
you don't even have to edit out very much.
no, not very much. Uh, so thanks again for coming on. Make sure everyone out there like, subscribe, follow, click the thumbs up. I don't all those things that everyone else tells you to do. Please do that for this podcast as well. And then
Yeah.
share with your friends because the listenership is not growing much and Clint's having a hard time getting up to do these sometimes.
But don't worry, I am still here to encourage him to do tailgate
Yeah.
chat. Please listen and review. That's the important thing. If you listen and leave a review, even if it's a short one, that's what helps get him seen and get everybody else to listen as well. And it can even help keep the lights on.
Right.
Important.
What you all don't know is I quit my job and I'm living off this podcast, and right now it's bringing in nothing. My kids
Right.
need to eat; they're starving. You can hear
Oh,
them on these podcasts asking me for snacks. Please, would you like? If I have to, next episode I'm gonna
oh my
play
god.
that.
To do like a Sarah McLaughlin
Yes,
like
that's exactly what I was thinking. I was trying to think of her name, Sarah McLaughlin, whatever.
and
Uh, and the poor animals, but it'll be me trying to feed my children
for the cost
for the
of a cup
cause.
of coffee a day, you
Yeah,
can sponsor these.
I'll literally the other day, and I'm going to leave this part of the podcast.
Oh
So
god.
yesterday what happens? We have an overnight team at work, and the one manager was off, and the other one called in. So I had to come in at 1:30 in the morning to kind of take over, right?
Oh
And
god.
when I got home yesterday, I was extremely tired. Anyways, my son was in his jammies until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And at one point, and I wish I had taken a picture of it and put it on Twitter because it was hilarious, he had sunken into the couch. So he's like in the crack between cushions, right? And it's sunken into it to where they were up, like he was actually in between the cushions. And he was surrounded by crumbs of food. And it was on his chest because he didn't have a shirt on. And he's just sitting there watching TV like this, if you're watching on the YouTubes, and just covered in chips and Pop Tarts. And so that's what I can't sustain that poor child's lifestyle on nothing.
Your 4-year-old is an entire mood. Like he's an
Yes.
entire like. That is exactly how I feel. That is so fun.
Yes. That poor kid.
Oh my god, that's really fun.
I went out today and rode both four wheelers, both the kids' four wheelers, the new one and the little case of beer one, and I rode them down. The farmer just cut the field kind of behind us and got his rolls of hay out of it, and so I rode down there just because they hadn't been ridden in like 4 or 5 days, and I came back in, and the kids were sitting there both playing video games, again, just, at least dressed this time, which was great, and I
At
just,
all.
as I was walking by, I just passive aggressively said, "Yeah, they still run. It's okay." And then
Were you being
apparently,
petty
yeah,
children?
I came into my room and my son apparently jumped up, went out in there, put his helmet on, got on one of the four wheelers, rode it for about 5 minutes, and then parked it and was back in and playing video games again. Like, look, I did it.
So William jumped up and went and rode his ATV and went back inside after you were being petty with your children.
Yep.
But did Allie?
No,
No.
I don't even think she knew I said anything.
It's so funny. I am so because I'm on the other end of the country, it's way funnier for me, because I'm 40 hours away and safely out of arms and harm's reach.
Oh, no, it is what it is. So with that, do all those things Matt said. Do all those things I said. We're gonna wrap it up here. Thanks again, Matt, and we'll do this again in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'll see you in a week or two.
Thanks again for listening to the Auto Riff. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, or you can email us at theautoriff@gmail.com. Without you, the listener, I'd just be a crazy person talking about cars to myself. I appreciate the support and the conversations with my listeners that this provides. Until next time, everyone drive safe and have a great week.